discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wtracks.
Blog Talk Radio.
All right, I guess we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Wrestling Tracks right here on blogtalkradio.com. And this isn't the normal host. Okay, the normal host is the founder and the host and producer. He does a lot of things. Lee Houston. Lee Houston was nice enough to give me an opportunity to fill in for him tonight to talk wrestling. I'm not used to doing this. I've done it a few other times, but I'm not used to doing this on a regular basis. So I want to definitely shout out Lee for thinking high enough of me to allow me to host his show in his absence. So if you're listening out there, Lee, big shout out to you and big thanks to you for giving me a chance to host Wrestling Tracks in your absence. Definitely want to thank God for giving me another chance to talk wrestling, which I like to do on a regular basis. That's what I do for a living, is talk wrestling. Now, I don't consider myself to be Mr. Smarty Pants or Mr. Know-It-All. I'm just a fan of wrestling, and I love talking about wrestling because, believe it or not, I think wrestling is probably the best sport in all of sports. And many might think that I'm crazy for saying this, but I think the wrestling is better than the NBA. Wrestling is better than the NFL. Wrestling is better than the NHL, MLB, golf, whatever you want to throw at me. I think it's better than those sports. And here's why. Number one, mainstream wrestling, they never get a break. There's no off season in the world of professional wrestling when you're on a mainstream level, such as WWE. It's all about travel, going from this city to that city, going from this state to that state. So over the years, I've developed a huge respect for professional wrestling. These guys, they go out to this city and this city, and they deliver A-plus performances all the time. These professional wrestlers, they do the best they can to make us happy, to entertain us, to appease us. So I definitely respect professional wrestlers. I definitely have a fondness for professional wrestlers because it's not easy. It's not easy to go from this city and that city and still deliver an A-plus match. That's why I have huge respect for today's professional wrestler. Now, I know the NBA players and NFL players, NHL players, and MLB players and so forth, they travel from state to state. They travel from city to city, but they still have an off season. All those sports have an off season. All those sports, they have a break period. They have a recess period, if you will. They have a timeout period. But for professional wrestling, they don't have a timeout period. Professional wrestling on a mainstream level is all about go, entertain. And I got huge respect for that. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm a huge wrestling fan, because it provides me a place of escape. It provides me entertainment. I could be having a bad day, and all I need to do is turn on professional wrestling. Whether it's a good show or not, it still brings joy to my spirit, joy to my heart. And I like to really celebrate this professional wrestling that we all love. But this is the Wrestling Tracks, and my name is Martez Al. I do host Wrestle Talking to D and a few other shows on Open Talk Radio 313, The Flash, on blogtalkradio.com. You can hear me through those different channels. And again, I want to thank Lee for giving me this opportunity. But it's so much to get into in the world of wrestling, and that's radio talk for you. I deem this to be a big show tonight because there's just so much to cover. You had Survivor Series to go down this past weekend. which was an interesting show that I will give my feedback on in a few minutes. You had NXT Takeover, which was also an interesting show, and a show that I found was very impressive. Excuse me if I can get my words correctly. The NXT Takeover show was very impressive, so I'll do my best to dive into that throughout this show tonight, as well as other stuff that's going on in the world of wrestling, and not just in WWE per se. The Jim Cornette situation, the comment that he made on NWA Power. I want to definitely talk about that just a little bit before we close out tonight, because I have my opinion on that. I have my thoughts on that, and I don't know if those that are listening will agree or disagree with me, but I do have my little 2 cents on that particular situation with Jim Cornette. AEW is continuing to climb up the ladder of must-see TV for me. You know, Wednesday night is must-see TV in terms of AEW. AEW so far was this 6 episodes into it on TNT, and I think they delivered a grand slam each and every Wednesday. So I'm very impressed with AEW. And speaking of AEW, how awesome is Jon Moxley right now? Jon Moxley is off the hook right now. I'm impressed with Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, whatever you want to call him. I'm impressed with, he's just impressive, you know. To leave, to be in WWE and already be a big name and already be a big star in WWE, but sort of live up under the shadows of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and a few other people on the WWE brand, to live up under the shadows of those guys and to go over to AEW and go over to not just AEW but the independent circuit and New Japan, to go in those different go to those different promotions, and hit home runs. You know, that says a lot about Jon Moxley. That says a lot about who he is, and I see Jon Moxley definitely taking his game to another level in professional wrestling, and I'm proud to see that. I was a huge Dean Ambrose fan in WWE, and I'm even more of a greater Jon Moxley fan in AEW. But I will touch on that as well, and I definitely want to talk about the women's division in WWE. Seem a little bit stale right now. Seem a little bit washed up right now. So that's something to talk about. CM Punk is something to talk about. So hopefully, a little bit of time I'm here with you tonight, I'll be able to dive into those particular things that I said I'll get into. But first, let's talk about Survivor Series, okay? Survivor Series was this whole Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT bragging rights. We've seen in the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen SmackDown versus Raw, but they added a new twist to this year by adding NXT into the mix. It was an interesting pay-per-view last night. I really don't know how to feel about it, to be honest with you. 1 minute I liked it, and then the next minute I didn't like it. You know, and that's kind of crazy to say that you like something but you don't like it. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where it's like you're dating a girl or something. Like you like her but you don't like her. You know, I bet you can relate to that. You know, or vice versa. If you're a girl and you think you like this guy but you don't like this guy at the same time. So that's how I felt about Survivor Series last night. You know, I'm happy NXT is finally on the mainstream. NXT is finally on the map. But one of the things that I didn't like about it was it didn't even seem like Survivor Series was the proper title for that pay-per-view. It didn't seem like Survivor Series was the proper name for that pay-per-view. It seemed like they should have called it the NXT Invitational. Because that pay-per-view last night, it was all about NXT. Say what you want about it. It was all about NXT. It wasn't about Brock Lesnar retaining a WWE championship. It wasn't about the Fiend Bray Wyatt defeating Daniel Bryan to remain your Universal Champion. It wasn't. It wasn't about a number of things, but the simple fact of this was NXT's night, and it seemed as if this pay-per-view was all about putting NXT over. Now, many of you that's listening right now at 347-850-1368, the number is 347-850-1368. You can call in if you're listening. You can weigh in on what I'm talking about. But many of you will already tell me that NXT was already over before this whole invasion angle. There's people out there that will tell me that NXT was already over before this invasion angle. I beg to differ. If NXT was already over before this invasion angle, then they wouldn't have needed this invasion angle. Let's take a look back. Adam Cole. The first night NXT invaded SmackDown. Adam Cole goes up against Daniel Bryan, picks up the victory. Shayna Baszler, she interferes in Bayley versus Nikki Cross match, and attacks them. She comes out on top after attacking those two, after attacking Sasha Banks as well. She comes out on top. What else? A few days later on Raw, Adam Cole versus Seth Rollins. Adam Cole and Seth Rollins, they had a heck of a match. Adam Cole looked good in that match. Although that match ended in an interference, Adam Cole still looked good, which means NXT still looked good. Undisputed Era interfering in that match, which means NXT still looks good. Shayna Baszler, a few weeks later, interferes in another match on Raw and SmackDown. NXT still looks good. And if you go back and look at the pay-per-view, if you saw the pay-per-view, you can obviously see that this pay-per-view was all about putting NXT over. Because some of us still believe that NXT is still the developmental league. Some of us still believe that NXT is still the minor league. Some of us still believe that NXT is not the same as Raw and SmackDown. It's not on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. Some of us still believe that. But after last night, after the many victories NXT pulled off, NXT is now over, in my opinion. And NXT is now officially, based on my opinion, is on the same level as Raw. NXT is now on the same level as SmackDown. NXT is big time now. NXT is must-see TV. But NXT needed the help of Raw and SmackDown to get over. And that was one of the things I didn't like about Survivor Series last night, that NXT picked up all those victories last night. I felt like Shayna Baszler, she didn't have to defeat Bayley and Becky Lynch. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that one bit. You know, I especially didn't like the fact that it seems that Becky continues to get, not Becky, but Bayley continues to get the short end of the stick. It doesn't matter that she's your SmackDown Women's Champion. It doesn't matter that she just made this recent heel turn about 7 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Bayley should look stronger than what she looks. It doesn't matter about that. All that mattered was Shayna Baszler or NXT coming out with the victory and coming out looking good. This is the Wrestling Tracks. My name is Martez Al, and I'm filling in for Lee Houston. You got to forgive me. It's been a long day for me. I've been moving from point A to point B. I didn't even have a chance to watch SmackDown yet. So the moment I got to my location to do this show, I didn't have a chance to relax. I didn't have a chance to chill out. I just had to get right into this show with you guys. So bear with me if I'm stumbling or if I sound tired. But I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go the distance tonight. We're ready to continue to talk about wrestling. I'm ready to continue to talk about Survivor Series. I enjoyed that Nakamura, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura matchup. That was already going to be a solid matchup. So I think that matchup lived up to the hype, or it really wasn't hyped up, but you know what I mean. I think that matchup was pretty good. That matchup was a good matchup. I didn't like the fact that Roderick Strong won that matchup. I'm okay with the way he won it, but I'm not okay with him winning it. You feel what I'm saying? But once again, it was the NXT Invitational. NXT had to come out, had to leave that pay-per-view looking good. If WWE wanted people to view NXT as mainstream, NXT had to come out on top. If WWE wanted people to tune in Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network, NXT had to come out victorious. NXT had to look strong. And Roderick Strong defeating AJ Styles, defeating Shinsuke Nakamura was a check mark in the right direction of NXT looking good to us. Brock Lesnar defeated y'all boy Rey Mysterio. I was pulling for Rey Mysterio, no lie. Especially that moment where Rey Mysterio and Dominic both hit the frog splash. No, both hit the 619 on Brock Lesnar. And then I believe they hit the frog splash off the top rope. I just knew Rey Mysterio was getting ready to win that title. And this is where it was. And this is what tripped me out about that matchup. Like, why have us on the edge of our seats? Why have us happy? For those of us that don't like Brock Lesnar, for those of us that like Rey Mysterio, why tease us like that? As if you were going to give Rey Mysterio the title. Why do that? I think that was wrong. I was getting ready to jump up and down. I was getting ready to celebrate, but in proper Beast fashion, in proper Brock Lesnar fashion, Brock Lesnar picks up the victory with the F5. So we all know Brock Lesnar defeated Rey Mysterio last night, but gosh, what a horrible way to conclude a storyline. Brock Lesnar attacks Rey Mysterio and attacks Dominic. Cain Velasquez was supposed to be the savior. Brock Lesnar dominated him. So Rey Mysterio decides to finally get retribution for Brock attacking his son, and then he still can't come through for his son. I think that was a bad way to end that storyline. They could at least gave Rey Mysterio the title and then have him drop it a month later to Brock Lesnar. But that only makes Rey Mysterio look bad, look weak in the eyes of his child. The fact that he can't beat Brock Lesnar, the fact that my dad can't defend me, the fact that my dad can't sedate this bully, the fact that my dad can't tame this beast that attacked me. That's not a good look, folks. That's not a good look, folks. And I'm just keeping it honest. I'm just keeping it real. I didn't like that storyline one bit. I mean, I didn't like the way the storyline ended. Excuse me. But we're moving right along. The Finn Bray Wyatt took on Daniel Bryan, which was a heck of a match, and I think that was my most favorite matchup of the night. The Finn taking on Daniel Bryan in that Universal Championship matchup. You know, a lot of things jumped out for me during that matchup. And one thing that jumped out to me is that Daniel Bryan still has it. Daniel Bryan, he hasn't lost a step. Daniel Bryan, he can still go. Daniel Bryan can still make his opponent look good in the ring. Daniel Bryan can still be the Daniel Bryan that he was a good 6-7 years ago. And Daniel Bryan, he's still box office. Daniel Bryan, he's still a in-ring professor. He's still a magician in the ring. Another thing that jumped out to me is that the Yes Movement is still alive, and the Yes Movement is still well. It's alive and it's well. And the fans obviously want the Yes Movement to come back. Because some catchphrases, some gimmicks just get played out after so long. It just does. But obviously the Yes Movement still has some legs to it. The Yes Movement still is relevant, so to speak. And something unique, something powerful about that Yes Movement, which is deep for me. It's something phenomenal. It's something captivating about when Daniel Bryan lifts up his arms and says yes, 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 yes. And something emotional comes over me when Daniel Bryan hits you with that yes, yes, yes. And again, last night proved that the fans are ready to welcome back Daniel Bryan into that babyface role that he does so well. Let's talk about Bray Wyatt. Let's talk about the Fiend, if you will. Another dominating performance, another masterpiece of a performance by Bray Wyatt. What more can I say about him? The way he has resurrected his career is nothing short of phenomenal. And this whole Fiend character was an absolute genius idea. Absolute genius idea. To create a character that forgives but doesn't forget. To create a character that, and this speaks to some of us in our lives. The Fiend is sort of like our inner flesh, okay? Our inner flesh that tells us to do wrong. Our inner flesh that tells us to cause pain, to inflict pain, to inflict abuse. The Fiend is no different than what we all go through on a day-to-day basis pertaining to our flesh and pertaining to the dark thoughts that we think about. And sometimes those dark thoughts, that flesh just wants you to let him in. And the Fiend is always looking for a door to be let in. And Daniel Bryan let the Fiend in the door last night. And we obviously know that the Fiend picked up the victory, defeating Daniel Bryan in a great matchup, to say the least. Uh, I didn't get a chance to see the. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't get a chance to see the triple threat matchup between the Viking Raiders, the New Day, and the Undisputed Era. I believe the Viking Raiders picked up the victory, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was a good move for them to have the Viking Raiders pick up the victory because the New Day doesn't need to win. They didn't need to win that matchup. Neither did the Undisputed Era. But I think it was pivotal for the Viking Raiders to win that matchup, and I'm glad they won that matchup. It makes a lot of sense because you want to continue to put that tag team over. That in the persons of Eric and Ibar. You want to put them over. Again, this is the Wrestling Tracks right here on blogtalkradio.com. My name is Martez Al, and I was blessed to be able to fill in for Lee Houston tonight. It's funny. It's like when you are over somebody's house. I don't know if you all can relate to this. You want to do the best you can not to mess up anything, not to break anything, not to keep the house dirty, or not to trash it. You want to make sure the house is the same way it was when that owner or that person that allowed you to spend the night or stay. You want to make sure you want to keep it the same way they left it. Okay, so I'm hoping I can keep Lee's house the same way he left it when he allowed me to come on and fill in for him tonight on this fine program that you guys should listen to whenever Lee goes forth talking wrestling. But we still talk about Survivor Series. We want to talk about NXT TakeOver. Listen, folks, for the longest, and if you listen to Wrestle Talking to D with myself, you will find out that I wasn't high on NXT for years. I didn't care about NXT for years. I didn't care about watching NXT. I heard all the chatter that NXT was this phenomenal show. NXT was this phenomenal brand. You gotta go watch it. You gotta go tune into it on the WWE network. So many people raved about NXT over the last few years, and I just didn't care about it because for me, NXT was always the minor league, the development league, as we say now. NXT wasn't on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. And for me, if you're not mainstream, most of the time I hate to say this, but I won't watch it. Like, it took me a long time to even care about indie shows in my life because if it wasn't WWE, it wasn't wrestling. That's how I was raised. That's how I was built to believe that if it's not WWE, it's not important. You know, if it's not WWE, it don't make sense to watch it at all. That's just how I was raised, you know. And but over the last 7 months, you know, I found myself getting interested in NXT a little bit more. You know, getting interested in understanding who is what's my man named Ciampa. You know, getting interested in seeing who's Johnny Gargano. Getting interested in Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Adam Cole, to name a few. And with that being said, Saturday night was the first ever NXT pay-per-view that I saw in its entirety. And the reason I decided to stop what I was doing and watch that pay-per-view in its entirety was the simple fact that NXT has impressed me through this whole invasion angle. NXT has showed me that they are just as big time as the main roster cats on Raw and SmackDown. I like the flavor that NXT brings to the mix. NXT is just it's so innocent to me. It's almost like NXT is the underdog that you want to root for. But again, like I said earlier, NXT for me was always the minor league system, and I didn't care to watch it. Especially in baseball, I don't care to watch AAA baseball. I don't care to watch a minor league baseball. NBA, I don't care to watch the G League, which is the minor league system in the NBA. Hockey, I don't care about watching the minor league hockey because it's not mainstream. And for me, NXT is no longer the minor league system. They're no longer the developmental system. NXT is officially the third mainstream brand that WWE has. NXT is now on the same level as Raw, on the same level as SmackDown. NXT is now must-see TV on Wednesday nights. It helped out that Finn Balor moved over to NXT, and I suspect we're going to see many other mainstream Raw, SmackDown talent move over to NXT just to give it that extra Because obviously NXT, they still need help to ascend, especially with this Wednesday night war that they're so-called having with AEW. You know, they're going to bring out the big guns, okay? Eventually they will. But to go back to NXT TakeOver, I thought it was a great pay-per-view. I thought the Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle matchup was sensational, through the roof. It was high octane. It was fast paced. It was in your face. It was entertaining from start to finish. It was a great story that was told by Finn Balor and Matt Riddle. They told a heck of a story in the ring. I found myself very impressed with those two guys. What else? The women's the women's War Games matchup was straight up gangster. Straight up gangster. I have no complaints about that. I have no complaints about the way it went down. That matchup had me on the edge of my seat for the whole match because those females, they did their thing. Those females, they put it down. You know, they sold that match. They made that match believable, and that's all you can do as professional wrestlers. That's the goal of professional wrestling is make sure your match comes off believable. Make sure your match resonates with those that are watching. Make sure the match connects with those that are watching. And they did last. They did last. They succeeded at that on a Saturday night. Those women did. Let's talk about the male War Games. Oh my God! What more can I say about that? We already have seen the ending 1,000 times with Ciampa and Adam Cole jumping off the top of the cage into the tables to end the match, with Ciampa picking up the victory for his team. And what about Kevin Owens making a surprise appearance to team up with Ciampa to take on the NXT, to take on the Undisputed Era? And like I said earlier, that whole pay-per-view was sensational. One of the pay-per-views that I will go back and watch, because I usually don't go back and watch a pay-per-view a second time. Once I see it, and that's it. But that NXT TakeOver from Saturday night is one of those pay-per-views that I do find that I will go back and watch it because it was so good. If you're listening and you want to call in and weigh in on anything that I'm saying, the phone number is 347-850-1368. The phone number is 347-850-1368. And definitely thank you for bearing with me tonight. I know it's late. I usually don't do shows this late, so I'm trying to stay up as much as possible. I'm trying to find that enter energy, if you will, so I can finish off the show successfully tonight right here on blogtalkradio.com, Wtracks, filling in for my man Lee Houston. And we talked about Survivor Series. Let's get back to Survivor Series. I want to talk about this women's 5-on-5 matchup, the triple threat elimination 5-on-5 matchup between Raw women's team led by Charlotte, the SmackDown women's team led by Sasha Banks, and the NXT women's team led by Rhea Ripley. The match, and I'm not here to poo-poo on the match, but the match was stale. The match was lackluster. The match didn't have any. It lacked energy. It lacked passion. The matchup lacked entertainment. The matchup was just too staged for my good. It was overly acting. It was overly choreographed. And I was quite frankly disappointed in it that match didn't do as well as I thought it would do. The men's 5-on-5 matchup was pretty good, but the winner in that matchup was Keith Lee. Keith Lee put on the show in that 5-on-5 matchup, to the point to where people are talking about Keith Lee right now. To the point where people are raving about Keith Lee, and people are clamoring that he get a push up to the main roster, because people are just excited about Keith Lee. And for those casual wrestling fans that never had a chance to watch Keith Lee on a mainstream level, you had a chance to watch him last night, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, did he deliver. Did he deliver? Keith Lee is big time right now, and I can see him ascending to the top if he ever gets called up to the main roster. And if he stays at NXT, I think he'll be NXT champion pretty soon, because it seems like Triple H is making all the right decisions, making all the right moves, and if he does stay in NXT, I know Triple H will probably give him that belt sooner than later. Again, this is Wrestling Tracks. My name is Marquez Allen. I'm filling in for Lee Houston. Like I said, I don't often fill in for other people on their own show, but I thank Lee for giving me the invitation to fill in for him tonight. I didn't get a chance to see Raw or SmackDown tonight yet, but I'm pretty sure it was an intriguing show, to say the least. But I want to talk about the women's division in WWE. And I think the women's division is stale right now. And it's stale because we see the same women being pushed in our face. And mind you, I like these women. I like Charlotte. She's the best. She's one of the top 5 wrestlers, men or women, in the whole world to me. I think the world of Charlotte. I think Charlotte Flair, she's just super good. But I think she's being pushed in our face too much. Sasha Banks, and that's my girl, Sasha Banks. That's my favorite female wrestler, Sasha Banks. But she's been pushed in our face. Bayley is, Becky is, and much as those women are great, I think it's time that we see new women added to the mix. Because if WWE is not careful, people will stop caring about these women wrestling. That's just my opinion. I think they need to add new women. They need to be new women as champions. I thought by now Lacey Evans would have a belt on her, but she hasn't. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Nikki Cross with the belt on her. I don't know when that will happen. But I'm afraid that the women's division is just simply stale right now. Because it seems like we see the same old matches by the same old people. And quite frankly, I think the women need a dose of Ronda Rousey. I think the women, much as I love Becky Lynch, and I enjoyed Becky Lynch last year, but she's beginning to be a little bit long in the tooth. And I can say that because I'm still a Becky Lynch fan. I'm still a fan of Becky Lynch. I found her to be a phenomenal wrestler. I found her to still be a great promo artist. She's still good on the mic, but it's too much Becky. So I'm interested to see where they go from here. I can't wait to see Liv Morgan return. I would like to see her get a push. I don't know if she's going to return as Sister Abigail, or I don't know if she's going to return as just a totally different. I don't know if she's going to be the opposite of a Sister Abigail. I don't know what the plan is for Liv Morgan, but I know that she will be changing her gimmick. From what I read, that her gimmick will be changed. So I look forward to her receiving a belt somewhere down the line. Lacey Evans, athletic. Lacey Evans, she's good on the mic. Lacey Evans, she has a good gimmick. Lacey Evans, she's big time. Lacey Evans is one of my favorite performers that they have right now. And Lacey Evans is someone that I would absolutely want to see with a belt. Why not Lacey Evans? She's a great heel. And what I like about Lacey Evans, she's always in character. You know, even when she's not on TV, even when she's doing autograph signings, when she's doing promotions for WWE, she's still in character. She doesn't break character most of the time. That's one of the things I like about Lacey Evans. Ruby Riott, whenever she gets healed up and she comes back, I hope we can get a Ruby Riott push. You know, Ruby Riott is one of the more forgotten about performers that WWE has right now. She just is. She's one of the more underrated talent in the women's division. And unfortunately, she got injured, but whenever she comes back, whenever she gets healed up 100%, I will be clamoring for her to get a shot at a championship, and for her to win the championship. So, to sum this up, the WWE Women's Division needs an injection. They need some new energy. They need new blood. Because what they're doing right now is played out. Is absolutely played out. And I'm not trying to dog nobody out. I'm not trying to talk bad about WWE. I'm not trying to act like I will write storylines better. That's not the kind of game I play. But I will say this. If they're not careful, that women's division will be an afterthought in the next couple of years. And you heard it here first tonight. If they're not careful, if they don't continue to invest in that women's division, the women's division will be the same as it was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, in afterthought. Because I'm watching this right now. The women's matches are not even long like they were the last few years. The women's matches are how should I put this? Women's matches are not. I want to make sure I say this correctly. They're quicker. Yeah, I use the word quicker. They're quicker than they've been in the recent memory. In recent memory, the matches are ending faster. The matches are not lasting long like they have been in recent memory. And I think that's in large part to WWE officials, whether you want to say Vince or whoever. They don't value the women like that anymore. Now, I know some of y'all probably think I'm crazy, think I'm crazy for saying that, and I think I'm crazy for saying it, but it's something that needs to be said because I feel like I see that. This is the Wrestling Tracks, and I know I said that a number of times. This is Wrestling Tracks with Martez filling in for your regular host, Lee Houston. Special thanks, big ups to Lee Houston for asking me to do this show and giving me a chance to do the show. I don't take it lightly to come in another man's house and eat up his food and sleep on his couch and this, that, and the third. So I definitely appreciate you for thinking high enough of me to talk wrestling. And you can hear me on Wrestle Talking and D a couple times out the week. We try to do a show a couple times out the week on Wrestle Talking and D. So if you ever not listening to Lee, feel free to listen to Wrestle Talking and D when you get a chance. Wow, what can I say about Jim Cornette? I think it's kind of sad that Jim Cornette will not be on NWA Power any longer because I grew to like Jim Cornette in that role as he is used to doing, with other promotions, WWE and the old NWA. Jim Cornette was used to being on the broadcast booth, and I think NWA Power will miss him because he was just entertainment, pleasure, and shock value. But Jim Cornette did a stupid thing. Jim Cornette made a stupid comment, and Jim Cornette is no more in NWA. He gone. He gone. He out the door because he made a racial comment. And we live in an age where people, they get offended about everything, and they offended about that. And I'm not justifying what he did, and I'm not trying to defend him because he shouldn't have said it at all. But there's a lot of people out there that will eat you alive if you offend them. And that's exactly what happened to Cornette. Somebody heard what he said and went off. It didn't take long before NWA pulled that episode off YouTube last week, and it didn't take long before Cornette was let go or resigned, whatever you want to call it. No, if I was WWE, I would try to go after Jim Cornette in a heartbeat, put him on that Raw broadcast booth with the King. But it might be too soon to bring somebody with that much baggage, with that much negative energy, negative history onto a show that's already receiving negativity. in the show of Raw. You know, people are always talking about how bad Raw is and how bad the broadcast booth is. So bringing Cornette on might cause even more problems. As I prepare to close tonight, I want to thank Lee for giving me the opportunity to talk wrestling on his airwaves. Just going to do our show tonight for you all. Once again, I appreciate Lee because he didn't have to ask me to do this, but he did, and I thank him for thinking high enough for me to do the show. I'm going to take a look at Raw tonight. Before I go to bed, I'm going to look at Raw, see what happened tonight. Hopefully some explosive things go down tonight. Hopefully it's a good show because you never know with Raw. They'll give you a good show, and then the next 5 shows will be horrible. I just don't get WWE sometimes. So I don't understand why they can't be as physical as not physical. I don't understand why WWE can't be as consistent. You know, in terms of delivering good shows, okay? This is the Wrestling Tracks, and I'm officially hitting the wall. I'm getting tired. I'm getting sleepy. So I don't want to destroy Lee's show. I want Lee to come back to his show and is standing with the same 2 legs it was standing with when he left it. Once again, thank you, Lee. This is the Wrestling Tracks right here on blogtalkradio.com. Everybody, God bless you and have a good night.